Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to TFR for another edition of Investor Stories. On this segment, the experts talk about a startup that failed and the causes of that failure. Here's the segment called Post-Mortems. On today's special segment, we have the legend Tony Wilkins of Standing Oaks. Tony, tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed.
The one that failed that I can think of the most is a very early one called Collectica. Was a company that was planning to carve out the collector marketplace from eBay. And it made a lot of sense. It was early. This is 2007. And there was no place for Pez dispensers, stamp collectors, or coin collectors to really nerd out on what it is they love to do. And we got a relationship with, I think, the National Numismatists, the coin collectors organization, to say, hey, if you'll sponsor our platform, we'll give you a cut of every transaction that goes on. It'll be in addition to the conferences that you have. And, we're running out of money so fast by the time we got to them to say yes. They said yes. They had a turnover in their administration, and there were a bunch of folks that said, technology? No, our people like to see the coins and talk about it. And they killed it. But we had run out of gas at that point. And sometimes, as Jimmy Connor says, nobody ever beat me. I just ran out of time to figure out how to beat them. And we ran out of time on that one. But, we all learned a lot of stuff.
On this special segment, we have Manan Mehta of Unshackled Ventures. Manan, tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed.
So we've had 12 companies out of the 61 that have failed to date. And one of the most common reasons, which is interesting, is founder separations. So we've had multiple situations where, founders were at odds. They were struggling to get to product market fit, or even go to market, or even problem product fit. And one of the founders had a situation at home or in their families where they had to, jump ship and get paid a reasonable salary. And in those cases, when one founder left, the other founder sustained for their 6 to 9, 12 months, but they also burned out. They also realized that, maybe the timing wasn't right for them. And so we've had a few of those come back later, and we've evaluated them, but that's the most common reason, right? It's because you're investing so early, it typically happens before your first customers underwrite you.
Have you noticed any themes across the portfolio when it comes to single founder versus two founder or three or more businesses?
We've seen a lot more success in single and two founders than three. I think the three founder equation is a lot harder than I think a solo founder, just because I think most times when there's three founders, it's easy to build consensus and pockets of two against one. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, it tends to happen very frequently. When you're a solo founder, you're forced to be resourceful, and everyone's kind of a partner in the journey with you if you are coachable. And so we've seen a lot more challenges in three founders than we have in single or two founders.
On this special segment, we have Maryanna Saenko of Future Ventures. Mariana, can you tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed?
I can't. And I think that's a comment on the markets right now. So our fund, we started in 2019 with Fund 1. We're on Fund 2 now. Every one of our portfolio companies is either at cost, held at cost, or marked up. I think that's surprising. And I think that's a commentary on the market today. And I hope we speak again in the future. And I think that this will be the metric that will be fundamentally different. But what we're seeing is just In the last 2 years, the companies that have survived, and we've been so fortunate that our companies have made it through the pandemic, is those companies have been particularly agile, particularly responsive to markets, and investors, particularly many of our co-investors, have been so willing to be supportive of their existing portfolios in a way that I think really speaks to the tenor of the venture community. So I think this is a completely nominal, this is a very off-axis, atypical situation that we don't have a loss registered, but I'm sure we will.
Does the overheated venture market slow down, especially with compression in sort of the later stage and in public markets?
It has to, right? The weird thing is we haven't seen it. So I don't really know where that shows up. I do wonder how the world events over the last 2 weeks will affect this. I will share that we are thinking very, very hard about our cash reserves and capacity to support our existing portfolio companies in the face of wanting to make new investments. And I hope that everyone else is thinking that way as well. And so I think that where the support is and how it will show up in the later stages will shift. I also think that when you invest in things that the world needs, those needs don't really change based on market sentiment, right? If it's that kind of oh no, we really need to get off petrol state energy, that still holds.
I'd love to see a metric that shows the amount of more permanent capital, venture capital versus the tourist capital, with an estimate of deployment periods, kind of get a sense, because there is a supply side there's a lot of supply of early stage capital at the moment, and that's driving prices up.
Yeah, completely. It's crazy. We've never seen markets like this.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.